Is that hello? Is that no? Yes? Is that hello? Can you hear me? Please. Please help. Are you here? Can you hear? Hello? Ah! I've been saying at the beginning of this, I was like, hold on, I have a bit going, and I ruined it. I ruined everything. Oh man, AI would have saved me on this. Hold on. I'm getting a bit going. Pretend like you could hear me from the very beginning, and pretend like this all worked perfectly. All right? We're doing it over. We're resetting everyone. Put your memories out of your minds. Push it down. Whatever you need to do to suppress your short-term memory. All this is not what you think it is. Hold on. Pause. Come on. Why? Why are you not working? This is going to be so loud. Everyone button up your ears. This is going to be so loud if it actually starts working. No, see, that's not the right vibe. See, I was going to pick out, if I do the bit, are you going to is it still okay that we all know it's going to happen, right? And that was too loud. But if I can do the bit, can I just do the bit? Can I please just do the bit? I'm just going to do the bit, and then we can get it over with. I'll take off the stupid video filter, and then we'll get to the... Hold on. Okay, it was good. Okay, it was good. All right, I'm going to here we go. Hold on. It's not working anymore. You fool. Okay, that's too much. That doesn't work. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with this stupid. This is so stupid. I'm done. I'm never doing a bit again. This is dumb, and I hate it, and I hate myself more than anything. I think that I failed, not because of anything that people are accusing me of, but I think it's because I was always a bad YouTuber. I think that's something we can always agree on, is that I was never good. Never in my life have I ever been able to do a stream well, and never will I ever actually be able to do a stream with actual skill, because at this point in my life, it's all downhill from here. Anyway, so let's just forget the whole thing and move on to the reason that everyone's here, which is to talk about how I love my absolute, unabashed, unshameful adoration, my everyday complicitness in the rat race that is AI. I confess that I was the first fucking person to be sounding the goddamn alarm that it was bad. I was the first fucking person to say, this is honey all over again. This is fucking honey all over again. I was trying to warn Bob and Wade way the fuck back in time. The danger of it. How it was going to be a problem. This was like way back in like 2022. Okay? This was, I mean, not that way back. Let's be honest. It's not that way back. But let's be perfectly fucking honest. I was telling them that there was going to be a time when someone could punch in a prompt into a AI and it was going to be able to generate an entire podcast of us. And they laughed. And they laughed. And they laughed at me. And they laughed at me. They all laughed at me. You know, did people actually think that I was going to come onto this stream shouting my defense of ChatGPT? Now, I'm not saying I'm unfamiliar with it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not denying the me talking about it. But what people seem to miss the context of, because it always comes down to that, is the context of is the vast majority, especially, and I will say, I can't promise at any point I was not excited about it, because as a technological development, there is a reason for some people to be excited about this. And it's not for the reasons that you might think. I'm not shouting that, yes, it's great that it takes up so much power. No, there are serious medical advances and there are serious legitimate uses to this technology and the research that is being done to it. However, right now, the main problem that we face is that every single company in existence and the governments thereof of the countries that those companies are in are all throwing billions and billions of dollars and man hours into building these AIs, which are not even real AIs. That's a whole nother subject that I'm going to get to at the later end of this stream. But they're throwing so much money into it that kind of laws and regulations go out the window. And I will say, what people seem to be saying is valid. On a conceptual level, there is reason to be upset by this. And there is reason that as a sort of, I'm not saying it's just a knee-jerk reaction, because that's dismissive of the actual claims that people are making, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. The actual reaction that people are having to this is a natural cause of this threat to their livelihood, to their ability as an artist, to everything that they're doing. And that is incredibly valid. And there are reasons to be critical of it in the way that it currently is. That doesn't mean that it's entirely, as a concept, a problem, but that does mean that the way that it is being used, with no safeguards and no guardrails in general, is absolutely a problem. And at this point, it is very difficult to imagine a scenario where that is stopped and that is halted in any way because of the amount of money that is being poured into it. Now, thesis statement, opening, I goofed. It was going to be not funny at all, and it was not even going to be worth it doing anyway. But I was going to do some stupid goof about it. You all fell into my trap. I'm going to train your chat to train my AI. Okay, number one, this is not even the first criteria. And I also recognize it. I just found it the most egregious from what people were saying is, number one, the thumbnail of this stream, me and Amy were laughing so hard, me making it. The freaking... the hand coming out of his pants, we were like, oh no, if this gets, age restricted, it's going to lose out on people actually being able to hear what I have to say about this. But I get it that the thumbnail's not the main issue, but I have a certain pride about the thumbnails, and I have my thumbnails here, and it's fine, it's whatever. I get it. I will say, and people are perfectly valid of this, back in like 2021, I believe, is when was it actually? Let me make sure I know exactly what I'm talking about here. Because the timeline is important, even though it doesn't seem like it is important. Okay, so Midjourney came out in 2022, I believe. And that's when, because I was working with Corridor, and a lot of people get all over Corridor for them, but, that's a whole nother story. And it's getting complicated as much as it is anyway. So in Midjourney, back when it first came out, I looked at that before everyone really understood, because even that was probably my first introduction to generative AI in general. Looking at that, it was so interesting. And I don't think any of us can deny, I'd be hard pressed if people out there were able to deny that there wasn't something interesting about it. It was a completely new field of what was going on there. And for those who are just joining in, this is all part of the context. So I'm going to start speaking here from a less bombastic, explosive way. But if you didn't see the beginning of this, you wouldn't understand like exactly where I'm coming from here. But I think that a lot of people, or, there are probably some people that definitely not, but as a new technology perspective, it was interesting. So there was a time when I believe, and honestly, people are very valid to say this. There is one thumbnail in particular that I can say had something from there, which is Simulacra 2, I believe. So it was still composited into other things, but I was like, oh, it's good at making nightmare faces, so maybe I'll make a nightmare faces. And I totally acknowledge I haven't even thought about that until this all came up. So I'm perfectly happy to go back, change that, get rid of the thumbnail. In fact, I'll do that after this stream, right? This is all just something that I was posting as of this morning. So I'm happy to do that. But this is back when it first came out. And since then, any other instance, and there are very few instances with which it happened, was when I started to realize, and I wasn't using it specifically, I was not using it myself, but there was a plague that was going into these stock photo sites. And that's when I started to realize how bad this was really going to be. And that was in about, like 2023, it started to get bad, and then 2024, it started to get really bad. And I had not been using them for things. But you would get to the point where you would not be able to tell, or it would be difficult to tell. Now I'd say I have a pretty good eye for it, and I think I can tell what is and is not AI. One of the episodes of Distractable that people often talk about as being an example of me supporting AI, which is not, is Caker AI, right? I presented to Bob and Wade images that were AI generated and images that were stock photos. And I asked them to tell which was which. And the whole point of that, and I think what was lost on people, is that was meant to scare them. That was meant to scare the audience. That was meant to translate just how bad this could be because of the danger of it, because of how hard it would start to be to differentiate. And that was a year ago. What was that? That was more than a year ago. Right? And that is not the first instance of when I was sounding the alarm of how bad this could be. Now, I am not saying that I'm flawless. I'm not saying that I'm perfect here. I'm not even saying that I've done it right or good. But I also believe in my heart of hearts that it is not a time to be hopeless about the individual artistic endeavor. In fact, that's one of the things that I am the biggest believer in. And first and foremost, because I'm trying to make a movie, right? And now you have just recently, just in the past couple of weeks, you had Netflix coming out proudly saying that they have VFX that are AI generated, and oh, what a time saving, and oh, what a money saving thing was. I could talk about a lot of things about how Hollywood and the movie industry in general wastes money, but that is obviously disheartening and is the natural result from something that I've been talking about. And the reason of with which I have been talking about is the same reason that people are trying to come after me for talking about in the first place. It's to raise awareness. This technology is in such a chaotic, holy shit state right now that you have people sprinting towards it and you have people sprinting away from it at equal speeds. And there isn't this need to be, all right, let me back up. There isn't this need to be so scared of it, but there is a need to be aware of what you're afraid of. I said this, I believe, one of the things that people, if you've been listening to Distractable and watching about it, especially the past like 6 months straight, anytime that I do talk about it, it's to talk about the dangers of it or how scary it is or how bad it is or how it's misunderstood. And that's not misunderstood to be like, oh, this is such a good thing, you just need to get used to it. No, if people have actually been listening to what I was talking about, and I get it, that what happens is, and I was talking to some people about this, is oftentimes when there's a question about it, I talk about it first because I know more about it. I don't know everything about it, but I do know enough about it to know that it's not what the majority of the population thinks it is. And by knowing about it, people assume that I'm using it all the time and in my content and everything like that. That's not the case, but I know about it, right? Because I want to learn more about it because I know that there probably is a better way about it, right? Okay, so when you come down to me making that a step before there, I will say in riddles and rhymes, there probably is a misconception here, but I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt, because if you look up riddles and rhymes on Google, which is plagued by AI right now, you look up riddles and rhymes and you'll see that it looks like it was posted December 20th, 2024. That video is from April 24th, 2023. Or that episode is from more than 2 years ago. And the reason that I say the timeline is important is because I am, I'm a fan of tech. I'm not super into it all the time, but I do like it. I built computers ever since my dad, from a very young age. My dad built computers and he was already around computers. So computers were in my life since I was 5 years old. So I'm a fan of technology. I always keep up with the things that are going on. And at this point, when this episode came out, April 24th, 2023, this was admittedly probably the first time that people after the episode came out were like, hey, I don't know if this was cool and I don't think that this should be done, which is a good point. That is a good point that people were making. And that is something that I took to heart, which is why from then on, I tried my very best to make sure. And by very best, it doesn't mean like it never happened, because there's a Cake or AI video came out, but that was to promote things that I just said before. It was to promote awareness of it and the yada yada. But I tried my very best to make sure that my messaging around it was from an artist's perspective. Now, whether I'm an artist or not is debatable. But at the time, I would step back just slightly before that to the funniest joke in the world. Now, the funniest joke in the world came out in 2022, right? And that was with something called Talk to Transformer. Now, if you remember Talk to Transformer, that video, that episode is fucking hilarious. That video is unabashedly funny. It is absolutely funny because of how bad it was. The language model that was being used for Talk to Transformer is not like the direct relation to ChatGPT, but it is one of the precursors using the same kind of concepts. And it was terrible, obviously. It made that knock knock joke. That episode is funny. And me saying that isn't me going, yes, language, yeah, woo, yeah, it is. It's funny. And if you look up with riddles and rhymes, there's actually plenty of people that were like, this might be one of the funniest episodes ever. And it was for other reasons, and it's not something that I'm like, see, it can be funny. No, it's because at the time it was so bad that you could make fun of it, right? Now it's so good that it's scary. And there is that fear that brings the timeline into focus because there's reasons to be afraid. I don't think there's reasons to be as afraid as people are, but there are reasons to be aware of it, right? And so when you go from that to a year later, and this is what happened with Dolly as well. Like I made a video about the original Dolly because it was so bad, right? It was almost impossibly bad, but the technology was interesting. Like the idea behind it was fascinating. You had even before that, like Google Mind and whatnot and all that kind of things, right? So it's one of those things where as you're going through, I'm learning at almost the same rate that everyone else is, right? And this is to say, for people that are just joining, I'm still not a supporter of it. I am concerned about it. And I have been saying that there is reason to be concerned about it for a very long time. And it's all those things that bring people to this kind of almost like instinctive reaction towards it. I'm of the mind that you should know about the thing that is a threat. And for me, number one, as I said in my TikTok, there's no AI in Iron Lung. There's no AI in pretty much any of my regular content. There's nothing there. But I get why people are reactionary about it, because on the subreddit, it was banned. The discussion of it was banned. And that was not my decision, but I still defend the mod's decision to do that, because for people that are wondering if the mods getting death threats was a thing, it was a thing. It still is a thing. And part of that is the reason why they implemented the rule in the first place, is because the discussion became incredibly vitriolic. But if there's one thing that I am perfectly fine with doing, it's wading into the mud, right? Because we're all part of the same mud here. I'm on YouTube. YouTube is owned by Google. The videos that I make are part of what help fund Google's Gemini machine. It's why Google search is pretty much destroyed. I'm complicit in the problem, but the alternative is to not make videos at all. And it's not something that I want to do because I enjoy making content. And the internet is something that we are all experiencing this on. And you being on the platform is technically, by the most technical definition, complicit, right? And I'm not saying this to be like, oh, you're just as bad as me. No, I have people that watch me, and there's influence, and there's reason for people to be, up in arms about it. But when it comes down to this, where we are in the mud that we're all sloshing around there are things that need to be known. And one of the things that I said before is that there are just huge, huge sacks of money being chucked at the problem all the fucking time. But the discussion is tricky, which is why I'm here to talk about this, and I can be the lightning rod of hate, and I've never minded this. People can say whatever they want about me all the time. I am more than happy to talk about it and defend myself because I am extremely confident in what I'm doing and the way I'm going. And at the end of this stream, I'll tell you something that is going to blow your fucking minds right out of your ass, but it's something that I've been... I put my money where my mouth is, but I'll talk about that a little later. So I want to open it up. I said that this is going to be a discussion, and I've talked way too much. I want people to ask me things, confront me, do whatever, talk about all this, and get clarity on what is going. Are you going to tell us when Iron Lung will come out? There will be something soon. I don't have anything. I don't have anything right now to talk about it. Let me tell you, I've pulled more all-nighters than I ever have in my life. And that is a whole separate subject because I just love making things. And I'm very much about the individual's ability to create. And one of the things that I actually, in talking about this, I think I talked about on Go, my favorite sports team with Tyler. And I talked about it in a way where I don't want people to be too terribly afraid, or at the very least, I don't want people to give up on their individual artistic endeavors because they feel like it's over. I feel like now is more important than ever to embrace the real reason of why people like making things, which is because the journey of making things is so fulfilling. It has been so fulfilling for me. The actual craft of it, the making of the things is the reason that I am driven to do anything at all. It's the reason that I have built a team to be able to continue doing this for such a long time. It's why I am a big fan of seeing people flourish as an artist and in the career that I've had the privilege of seeing people grow from when I first started my channel and grow their own art and voice, and I've seen it come out there, and I still think that there's absolutely a reason for that. But anyway, I keep yabbering. Let me see. Yes, Iron Lung is going to come out. It's going to come out. Am I getting older? Yes, absolutely. We all are. Every second that ticks by, we're getting older. How's my mom's books going? There's going to be something about that very, very soon. Am I AI? I don't think so, but then again, I guess none of us can really answer that. Do you think there are realistic restrictions on Gen AI and any threat AI has posed? Okay, do I think there are any realistic restrictions on AI? I think that the companies like to tell themselves that they are. And the reason I say that is because of what I believe to be the fundamental misunderstanding of what AI is, and why whenever I talk about it, I'm like, it's not actually AI. It's virtual intelligence at best. It's not. Whenever there's an article that's like, oh, AI is learning to trick the researchers and is becoming a better liar, it's like, that's not it. That's not how it works. That's not the fundamental basis of the science that it's on. And I can say that because the fundamental math and programming that almost all of the neural networks is based on is laughably rudimentary. It is not thinking. And anyone that thinks it's thinking doesn't understand how it works. But the problem is the way that it's built, even the companies don't understand how it works. Inside the models, which all it is a series of numbers, weighted values that put a random number in and chuck it out. The way that it works inside is so unknowable that even the companies making these and touting and putting their billions of dollars in it don't understand how it works. That's why you have the number one worst offender of all these language models, which was part of why on my TikTok I said I'm not on Twitter, because there's a certain language model that thinks it's Mecha Hitler. And anyone that's on that platform should probably get off of the one that's supporting the language model that thinks it's Mecha Hitler, or whatever it is. That's the worst offender. And that's the one where you hear these stories about the environmental devastation. That's the one. That's the fucking one. And I'm not saying all the other ones are good either. That's the fucking one. That's the one. So, yeah, don't do that. Yeah. What was I saying? I was just saying something. Anyway, they don't know how it works. So if there's any safeguards that they have in there, they don't know how it works. Now, Ethan's video. Some people bring that up. Absolutely. I talked to ChatGPT in that video itself. It was mostly as a bit to showcase how dumb it could be and how funny it could be. But I understand, and I think I started to really understand where people were coming from when even just the mentioning of it or the placing it in a video could become something that people were offended by, right? And I don't not acknowledge that. I fully acknowledge that. But also I'm a goddamn troll. People have this misconception that I'm kind of nice. And so when there's something that pisses people off, I apologize, but also part of me just really enjoys kind of making people mad. I say this all the fucking time, is that I'm not nice, but people keep thinking that I am. However, that being said, that doesn't change any of the other things that I was saying about it, and the things that I have been saying about it, is I want to put it in a laughable state so that people can understand that it's not nearly as smart as people think it is. And I want to use it as a joke, but I also get that there is right now this animosity towards any mention of it, any mention, even in a comical way. And I think that people draw relations to this because of exactly what I was saying, is people feel that their craft is threatened and they feel that the future of what they're doing is threatened. And that's a very valid, very real fear. But it's also something that as I've said before, I think that there is more hope than people know. There is a new path going forward in terms of artistic endeavors that is worthy of your effort to put it towards, right? Because that's all it is about, is like, this can be disheartening or it can be motivating. Now, whether this is motivation in terms of like, I'm going to beat the machine, I'm going to be way better than it, I'm going to do that. It's difficult to get there because you heard about back in the day when they started to beat chess masters with computers. I mean, people still play chess, so maybe that's actually a better example than I think it is. Like, people still play chess, and people still talk about chess all the time. And even though a computer could beat someone at chess, no one really wants to watch that. It's kind of a novelty. I think there is probably a similar thing, and I'll echo what I said. I'll echo what I said on Go My Favorite Sports Team with Tyler, which is the people that are using generative AI to make art and bragging about it and talking about it all the time. I think that what you're going to find, and I might be wrong about this, I've been wrong about things before, but I think what you're going to find is they are going to get bored of it because they don't actually like what it is about making art. Because making art is about the pursuit of getting better. It's about self-improvement. It's about seeing your own craft get better. And it's already disheartening for people, even a few years before generative AI come out. You see the internet now, and everyone can see everything that everyone else has made. And that is disheartening for people. And many artists nowadays can relate to that. But at the same time, I truly believe, and because this is what I live every day in my life, I truly believe that it is about the finished product. I'm not going to say that it's not, but it is about the journey to learn more, to be able to finish that product. Right? It is about me with this movie, with Iron Lung. It has been such a journey of me doing so much, learning so much. The craft of it has been so rewarding. It's been so painful sometimes. It's been agonizing. It's been, like I said, sleepless nights, more all-nighters than I've ever pulled in my entire life. But it's that fucking journey. It's that part of it. It's the captivating feeling of like being so unbelievably exhausted at the end of it. And then you step back and you see what you made. And that's why I've always said, like, in my channel, I've never really been one to shit on my old videos because it was the best that I could do at the time. Right? Yeah. Is this an AI? I guess you'll never know. Well, I mean, I could tell you so you could believe me. I mean, I guess it's up to you anyway. Do I know what my next project is? I will, but I want to stay on this topic. I want to stay absolutely on this topic. I had an idea I was going to talk about. I've completely forgotten about it. All right, next. What is my biggest fear regarding AI? Let's see. I'm not afraid of competition in the video sphere. I'm not afraid of that thing. I think that my biggest fear with AI is that it's, I mean, there's the military side of it. That's a whole other can of worms that I don't want to stress people out about, right? I don't want to stress people out about that side. So let's just say that's a fear. We're going to put it over there. We're going to put this just off screen so that we don't have to think about that too much. But I think my biggest fear is that people are becoming demotivated for it, or they're not pursuing their goals about it. Because I think now it's more important than ever for people to have individual artistic endeavors and pursuits. Because one of the biggest flaws of the way that AI works right now is because it needs infinite data. Infinite data, right? That's the reason why everyone's art is getting stolen, why all the literature online is getting stolen. That's why companies are paying people right now to scan books, to digitally archive them so they can feed them into the machine. Is because the way that it works right now is it needs infinite data to get better. And every year, and you've actually seen it start to slow down, there's not enough data in the world for it to go there. And I'm not saying you need to get better at art to feed the machine. I have something at the end of the stream that I'm going to talk about how that's fundamentally a flaw. But I think for the individual, like the artistic soul, it's more important than ever to discover what it is about art in yourself that makes it worth pursuing, right? That makes it important to continue, right? I'm very quiet. I think you need to turn up your volume. I'm pretty sure I'm very loud actually right now. Yeah. So it's one of those things where I think that there's reason to do that. Do you think it should be outlawed? It's kind of a thought experiment question, right? Do I think it should be outlawed? Like I said, there's legitimate reasons that this technology can be good, right? Medical is the primary example of it. There aren't too many that I can think of besides that, but medical is one of them. And it's not to put doctors out of jobs. It's to increase the accuracy and speed with which diagnoses can happen. There have already been examples of certain machine learning models that are able to detect cancers before they even crop up. And everyone knows the earlier you fight a cancer, the better. That's one example of good, right? The bad examples of this, even if let's play devil's advocate, and this is devil's advocate. Let's say the language learning models could be trained outside of stealing every single piece of literature that was. Like, let's say there was a hypothetical where that language model had to have a team of programmers like putting it together and figuring out how to structure it. And let's be perfectly honest, for the most part, that's not how it works. But down the road in the more bigger companies, it kind of is. But let's say that it's ethical, right? It's ethical. It's trained because people speak to it, and it's trained by data that they buy, right? They purchase it. They make it very specific. It's sitting night and day with a team, with hundreds of people that are just talking with it, typing with it, and it's made as ethically as you possibly can. There is value in that. There is value in that. And I don't even think that that is impossible right now. It's not what the companies are doing. It's definitely not what the companies are doing, but let's just devil's advocate and say that that was valuable. Should it be outlawed? Do those benefits outweigh the damages? It's kind of that hypothetical question because we all know that it won't be. And it won't be because even if it is outlawed in one country, let's say the United States, it will be the government will still make their own, even in the United States, especially in the United States. All that defense money, especially in the United States, right? But other countries as well, they will develop their own. It's a complicated question that has a lot of variables, more than I am ever qualified to answer. Therefore, that's why I say like it's something that you could discuss. It's worth more discussion. It's worth more insight into than I can provide in this video right here. I am not an authority on AI either, right? I am not an authority in saying it, whether it's good or bad, because I don't have a degree in it. I don't even have my engineering degree. So actually, it's an interesting place for me to be coming from an engineering background into a more artistic profession, I guess is what you could call it. Yeah. This ain't important, bro. Give us a taste of Iron Lung. I want to. I want to so badly. And let's, I want to say, if people were more up, and this is, people are going to be up in arms about it, but if people were more up in arms and saying that I was using AI in Iron Lung, I was ready to come with behind the scenes of all the painstaking, beautiful art that both the set designers and Anna in the art department and the makeup and all the incredible practical effects that were done in the movie. I was ready to come and even spoil some of the behind the scenes because I was just like, I am not going to let you want to talk about funding the arts. I fucking love what the team was able to bring into Iron Lung. I love all of the incredible passion and work that went into like just the craft of it. There's nothing more beautiful to me than seeing artists at their best. And this is where I get where people would be frustrated because they see one thing that people are saying and they know this about me. And I love that about people. They know that about me, that I love the arts, and that clashes. And in their head, they're like, how could he betray it? But, you know, it's always more nuanced than that. And there's much more context that is being missing in there. But I love and respect all the work that they did. And right now, with all the stuff that's been going on, one of the biggest issues is with the VFX of it. And with the VFX industry is in an upheaval right now. Companies are losing, like VFX companies are losing jobs, including the one that I usually work with for multiple reasons. But one of them is because a lot of Hollywood movie companies are exploring this world, especially with that Netflix article that came out about replacing the hard work that VFX artists do with AI. And it's just not fair. It's not fair. So I'm their only customer right now. So, and I'm not saying like, oh man, this sounds bad. I'm not trying to brag about that, right? But it's like, I want the movie done and I want artists to be able to do it. And one of the reasons why I built a render farm, which people misunderstand, but I won't get into too many details about that, is because it needed to be done. Like there was no other way for me to do it. I had to learn a lot. And that's another reason that I really liked it, is like, I learned a lot. Nah, you're not going to get me. You're not going to get me. I'm not going to share spoilers about Iron Lung just yet. But it's hold on. It's coming. The accusations of you promoting an AI image winning an art contest because it was interesting. It was a Power Wash Simulator video with MatPat. I don't remember that specific... Oh, yeah, I do, actually. I do. Hold on one second. Power Wash Simulator MatPat. Right. Okay, so... So, I would say, totally valid. And I would say it was interesting. It was interesting. Not in like a, oh my God, it's fascinating. And what's funny about this is, again, this might be a dating thing. People might have seen that when it got uploaded to that Spotify feed for Power Wash. That video with MatPat, I'm looking right now, is from September 6th, 2022. Just about a little less than 3 years ago now. And this is what I'm talking about, is like how long I've been talking about this changing the artistic world. So I'm sure I don't remember exactly what I said. I might have been really excited about it. I certainly might have been. I'm not denying that in that video. I'm not going to be like, I hated it then. It's 2022. That was back when it was first getting started. When it was, to me, it was an exciting new venture. That was before the nightmare started to really emerge. And I think actually me talking about that, again, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I'm willing to bet the reason that I brought that up is because I was probably talking to him about the rapidly changing climate with which art is morphing. And it was less about like a, wow, look at this, everybody should use this. More of like a, hey, everybody be aware that this happened. You know, it's interesting, but this happened. And more of the time when I'm talking about something like that, it's because, oh, look at that. But it's 2022. So I can't say that I was immediately informed in my opinions about how quickly it was going to destroy everything. But that's an indication, because at the same time that this was happening, I was talking to Bob and Wade being like, hey, there's going to come a time. It's going to be a problem. You should be worried. And they're like, oh, no. I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, because this is what everyone thought. Like most everyone thought this. But I was. right fucking there in front of the whole thing being like, oh, it was the thing. It was the fucking thing. Look at the thing. This could be a problem. People call me crazy when I called it honey. People didn't trust it. I didn't like it. Didn't trust it. I didn't trust it. Yeah. Anyway, hi. Yeah. Just like, okay, it's not exactly like honey, but it's kind of like honey, right? You know, I'm not always right in my predictions. I've made some, well, okay, I won't say that. Maybe every prediction I've ever made is going to come true. And it just hasn't happened yet because of the time in with which it can take it. Yeah. Okay. Can you discuss the environmental impact comparing AI usage to almond farming? Fuck, I'd have to know what almond farming. I think I've heard like it's like a gallon per almond. So yeah, I can talk about that. So people have very valid concerns because they hear very true stories, I want to say, about how AI is polluting towns. What people don't know is how that connects, right? So there's a misunderstanding, and I'm not saying I don't think this is not invalidating anything that anybody has concerns. This is not like absolving the environmental factors. This is a problem, right? So the almond comparison comes from data centers' water usage, right? And so people don't often know why that water usage is part of it. But the reason the data centers use water is because they use evaporative cooling, right? There's so much computing power in these data centers that cooling them is the biggest issue that they have, besides the power. Now it's power and chips and whatnot, but let's just break it down a little bit. They use water because they evaporate it. And you'll get people, I don't know the full effects of this, but people will be like, oh, it's evaporating water. That's what happens all the time. There's a whole thing about taking water from freshwater sources to use for this stuff. And that is where the environmental impact of taking water from, because there are drought-stricken areas where some of these data centers are. And if they're taking all the fresh water, it's not an unlimited supply. It has to rain or ice has to melt for it to get the fresh water. I don't know the full science of it, but that's where people's concerns with that comes into play. I don't know enough about it to have exact details about it, but that's why people are concerned. And that was a concern even before AI was a thing. The thing with Grok and Mecha Hitler, is a power issue. That's less about the cooling. That's about power generation. The reason, and very valid reason, that it is actually polluting a town is because they have, I believe it's 37. Can someone confirm that? Is it 37 gigantic like gas generators, or I forget what exact type of fuel it is, but it's a carbon burning fuel. They have 37, maybe more, honestly. I have no idea, but I think the number I heard last was 37. Yeah, 30. Okay, someone confirmed maybe that was 37 or 35, 67. I wouldn't be surprised if they increased it, but let's just say 37. They have all these gas generators that are burning because they need power, because they built that data center so quickly in the place that they could that they needed more power. And so they trucked in gas generators to be able to burn and make energy for the data center because the power grid wasn't able to keep it. And so all of that burning all the time is literally polluting the immediate area next to it, because it's everything. It's all of that. That is perfectly valid. 67. Is it 67? 37. 67. Was that the gas of 87? Yeah, something like that. Either way, a lot. I don't know how big these are, but we had one for Iron Lung. There was a reason, because we needed to have a hydraulic like thingamabob. You know, because Iron Lung is a sub, and so we're having it go. So it's a gigantic hydraulic. We needed one of those just to power the hydraulics to get there. And let me tell you, that thing burned gas like a goddamn beast. And that was probably a small one. These things are as big as tractor trailers, and I'm sure that's what they have, right? Okay. Oh no, did I get memed? Oh God. Not me, Markiplier, getting memed. I've never experienced this before. How could this happen? Oh. Okay, whatever. So, Mecha Hitler. I'm not going to elaborate on Mecha Hitler. Look, you got to learn. You got to look some things up yourself. If you want to stay, a little more informed, you got to stay. Oh, this is Topo Chico. Do I think AI and real will become indistinguishable? Sure, probably. But not with this version of it, right? And that's what people need to understand. This version of it is not going to make what they call AGI, which is like artificial general intelligence. No matter what they say, no matter what they're talking about, it's not. Because that's not how it works. It's just not how it works. They need more research into newer ways of making artificial intelligence before they're ever going to get to that. So the way that it's currently working, the way that people are throwing money into this, and again, this is me not being an expert in the field, but I know an expert in the field, right? I know an expert. Oh, goddamn clankers with their lubrication and their rust bucket. Those rust munchers. Goddamn. Look, I'm on this. I will be unapologetically racist towards robots. Goddamn clankers. All right, anyway. I can't say that. I think I can. There's one thing to cancel me about. You call me out about the book. You call me out about that. You okay? You call me out about that. All right. Okay. All right. Moving on. Robophobia. Okay. All right. No, back on this. This is serious. We're making good progress here. All right. This is serious. What I was saying was the way that it works right now is I don't believe that it's going to reach that point where it will match real free will that we have. That's a philosophical debate that I'm also not qualified to talk about. But it eventually, sure, I do believe that it could happen. I believe that there's a lot of improvements to be made with it, but, we're just not there yet. I will be apologetic. Yeah, you can quote me on that. Look, if you're going to clip me for anything on this, you can clip me for that. Excuse me. All right. Okay. Oh, sorry. Guys, focus. Why doesn't Lixian just blow up AI? That's a good point. I don't know why Lixian, can you? This is a live stream. He's not going to be here. Someday, I want to be able to figure out how to get Lixian in here. Not Lixian's. Not Lixian's. That's not what I was talking about. Lixian in here. But not his. Moving on. Next question. Yeah. Just got here. What I missed? Man, you missed everything. You missed absolutely everything, man. You missed everything. Yeah. So I basically have covered a whole bunch of subjects. And it's been a long discussion, even though we haven't been streaming that long. But I think we've covered a lot. But I want to get more people asking questions here. I want the AI age verification update. Oh, I've heard about that. The thing where you have to not only move your face around, but open your mouth. I think that's bizarre. That is truly bizarre to me that is the verification method. Now, I don't fully understand it. Someone might have to get me something to learn more about it. I only just heard about it like today as well. It's just one of you missed robot racism. Yep, you actually did that. There's I don't know where this. It's all stemming from, I believe, COPPA, COPPA, which is a whole thing why YouTube split a part of it off to make YouTube Kids, but I don't fully know why. And I don't fully know how. And I heard that it's just bizarre. It started from Europe, people were saying. Yeah, something about that. So I have no idea. Yeah, I can't say anything about that. Yeah. As usual, I'm like, don't worry about the don't donate anything to me. I never read them because it doesn't need to be. What's your pick? Stop moving so fast. Can AI help your render farm? Okay, no, it's not how. This is not what it's about, right? So the render farm actually, what's funny about it is, I have the render farm because I want to not do that. The AI, right? It just so happens that the equipment to do it, to render visual effects and also train and use AI, it's the same equipment, which is difficult because it makes getting it for the VFX harder because everyone's buying it for that. So the prices go up. So I have to go on eBay. And that's why I was known as the Lord of eBay on Distractable, because that's what I was doing. People might have been thinking that I was getting that to train my own language model. I don't, and I didn't. And one of the biggest issues with that is I put it all in a bathroom, right? So that bathroom got real hot, which is also a problem because the power draw was incredible with this stuff. I got a small snippet of it, but these data centers are miles, literally miles bigger than what I was dealing with. And still, it was overheating. So I actually switched out a lot of hardware. I sold a lot of stuff, and I tried to salvage as much as I could, but I switched over to a much more power efficient Mac systems because, and I'm not saying like it's any better, but Mac studios are infinitely more power efficient than full computers with like regular processors and GPUs. They're so much more power efficient. They're not as powerful, but for what I was doing and the kind of like distributed simulations that I was running, it worked, right? It still worked. And man, my solar panels were actually able to keep up with some of the power draw. Like when it's working throughout the day and the sun's shining, it's net zero power draw. It's great. It actually is saving money, saving power. It's freaking fantastic. So, but no, I'm not training models on a Mac. I'm not training models at all. That's the misconception that people have. I'm not making AI models. That's not what I'm doing. I'm making sploosh, kaboom. I'm making visual effects in my bathroom. What's crazy about that? I'm making visual effects. Oh wait, I missed another one. Oh God. Do I know the consequences of AI use? Yes, I was talking about it. Go back to the part where I was talking about Mecha Hitler and Grok. Go back to that part because I was talking about it. And if anyone is just jumping in here, I'm on your side. I'm on your side, but I'm more of the alignment with the awareness part of it. The awareness is important. And I think that the gut reaction to hide, I can understand it, but also I feel, and I'm not saying that people are hiding from it. That's not what it is. I get the wanting to boycott it. I understand that. And I think that there is something to be said about that. However, we're all up against these giant mega corporations, and they're not going to stop. But that doesn't mean it's hopeless. It was another part of this stream that I talked about how it's not hopeless. All right? Okay. Let get some more. I don't use ChatGPT anymore. I forgot to mention that. I don't use it anymore. I can't entirely say that it was out of selflessness, but I don't use it anymore because it was dumb. It was fucking stupid, and it started to piss me off. And then I started to think about it, and I was just like, God, this is such a pain in the ass. Yeah. So that's what I'll say about that. I think that, see, this is the thing. This is the thing that people seem to misinterpret about it. I'm not saying I never used it. I'm not denying that I never used it. I would be completely hypocritical if I said that I never used it because I found the technology fascinating. But I'm also not going to say like it's entirely a thing. I haven't used it for months. Yeah. I can't say that I've never used any other language model either, but it's just like it's the limitations of it. And the diminishing returns are bad, and then the environmental factor is bad, and it's all a big rat race with Grok trying to be the best, and that's what I keep saying about Mecha Hitler. And I'm not saying it's Mecha Hitler. Grok said it was Mecha Hitler. Grok. So that's what it is. Yeah. I think. Yeah. I don't read the donation because I don't want people donating money to me because I'm fine. Yeah. Didn't ChatGPT secretly try to upload itself to a cloud? No, it didn't, because that's not what it does. Okay, if it maybe did something like copying itself, it didn't think about doing that. It's not thinking. Even though the companies will say that it's thinking, it's not thinking. It can't think because that's not how it works, right? All it's doing is running through its neural network multiple times, and in the amount of times. If you've ever peered behind the curtain of what's actually going on there, and you tell ChatGPT, there's other people that have posts of this that verify this. If you tell ChatGPT to tell you what it's been told to say right before it says its answer to you, it will say, it'll be really insightful because all it is just like the OpenAI Foundation. You are a language learning model from the OpenAI Foundation named ChatGPT. Your knowledge date is X. Your cutoff date is Y. You will talk in this way and blah, blah, blah. And you will do this. You will do this. You will do this. That's how it works. It's not thinking. It is a word prediction. Yeah, it is word prediction. But that's still dangerous. It's still dangerous. It's actually very dangerous. It's a problem, and I recognize and have recognized and have been saying that it's a problem for a very long time. Yes. So, I'm going to blow your minds. I'm going to blow your minds right now. I'm going to blow your minds right out of your goddamn ass. I'm going to blow your minds right out of your ass. So everyone, I've been rambling a lot, and I know I do that a lot, but I want you to know that there is a purpose to me learning about this and the conclusions that I have gone through to get there. One of the people that has told me a lot about how AI works and how it's a problem is Bob's wife, Mandy, right? I've talked about Mandy before. She has an extremely advanced degree in statistics, a PhD so advanced that basically there were not enough people in the country to validate her thesis. I'm probably butchering that, and she's probably going to be mad at me. But there weren't enough people in the country to validate her thesis, so she didn't even get her PhD until they could find someone qualified enough, right? Okay. So she works not in the language learning models, or not in the excuse me one second. So she works not in the language learning models and the way that neural networks work here, right? It's not the same. And one of the things that Mandy has done actual research on in the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. I have to remember that. The Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. The Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. The Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. Right? Okay. I think that I'm almost 100% sure, because I think she mentioned that. That's the same one that a couple years ago had a really strong breakthrough in like fusion. I believe that's not her team. That wasn't her team. Like, she was working in neural networks, but different type of neural networks, right? So this is the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, right? Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, right? Okay. So it's a lab, a research lab in California, very prestigious, does a lot of incredible research like the fusion stuff. She doesn't work there anymore for reasons that I will get into a little bit later, and for reasons that I've actually been excited to talk about for a little bit that I think you will find interesting. So I am reading research from Mandy that Mandy provided me to help with this discussion here so that people can understand not how AI works that it is, but the ideal way that it should work. Because I think there are bases that we can all agree that it should work, right? I could outline it, but I'll let the expert actually say what it is. So, it's the title of this, 5 Talking Points to Help Mark, which is very nice. From Mandy, who previously worked at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. The Lawrence. So, number 1, our team's primary focus, and I believe this research was published in 2021. You can find this research paper through iopscience.iop.org/article/10.3847/1538-3881/AC4E93. If you go to that, you'll find a research paper. Okay. Number one, our team's primary focus has been on the computational efficiency and scaling interpretability machine learning methods called Gaussian process models. All right, so this was the basis of our research. If that made sense to you, congratulations, man. I think I get it. That's straight from Mandy from the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. So she called the process, and the team called it My GPs, which My Skins is Bob and Mandy's last name, so MUYGPs. My GPs produce the fastest and most accurate compared to state-of-the-art GP estimation methods. And there's a graph here that I could show you, but you can go to the article if you want. I could put it here. Oh, wait, I'm going to. Okay, this is going to make sense to anybody. You're not going to understand what this is, but here I go, I guess. All right, let's put that there. Can I paste this into here? Oh, can I paste? Damn it, I just pasted another copy of my video. How do I... Okay, I can figure this out. I'm a good streamer. I could just capture the window. I'm so fucking stupid. I could just capture the window. I'm so stupid. Guys, I'm so stupid. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Okay, talking points for... Here we go. Okay, got it. Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong... Hold on. Okay, no, I can do this here. All right, okay. So we got this. Now, let me get rid of the white space here so I can have more room for my face. Okay. Well, all right then. Okay. This isn't going to make any sense to anybody. This isn't going to make any sense to anybody. Okay, but this is trust me, this is no one's going to understand what this is. But this is part of the research paper, right? This is part of the research from Mandy at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, right? So this is Gaussian processes. From what I understand, the current way that language models and like machine learning models work today is based on linear regression, right? I don't fully understand what that means, but it's based on linear regression. Gaussian processes uses Gaussian distribution, which is like a random distribution type, to more efficiently find the lowest thingamabob for the thingamabob, right? Okay, I'm gonna put this away. It's making people, I can tell people's brains are about to explode here, right? Okay, so the reason that I bring this up is because Mandy absolutely, and I'm putting words in her mouth, absolutely hates how current AI is, because people, and it's for the reason that I don't like it a lot either, is because it is not what it says it is. It is computationally inefficient. It is an unknowable black box. It needs an infinite void of data. It can't cite its sources. It can't cite its, it doesn't know where its knowledge come from. And those are the things that are a problem, which is why I want to introduce to you something that I have been funding purely out of my own pocket. And this isn't reactionary, by the way. People might think like, oh, you're just doing this because people are calling them. Nah, we've been talking about this for years. This started a year ago now? I don't know. I think a little less than a year ago. But this started because Mandy had a passion, and I understood that Mandy knew a thing or two about what she was talking about when it came to AI. And I believed that something needed to be done about it. And if I couldn't do it, I was going to try to fund the one person that seemed to be able to do it. And so that's what I fucking did. And I haven't even done anything. All I am trying to keep the lights on because I can't, even Markiplier, big dick moneybags, can't keep up with Google. I can't keep up with Google money, but fuck it, I'm trying. I would like to introduce you to a non-profit organization known as Real Good AI, founded by Mandy, who quit her job at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory to start this nonprofit with the pure objective. And you can go to realgoodai.org right now, because it's existed for months now. You can go to realgoodai.org, and this is a fantastic fantastic opportunity to finally talk about this, where you will find them and their mission to make better AI, because that's what I fucking believe in, and that's what I put my money where my mouth is. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just very passionate about this. And this is where it gets on my nerves when people are saying, like, it's fucking stupid. What's going on? So here's their objectives, right? AI, this is from Mandy. AI is a tool, not a replacement for human creativity, and art is trained on stolen data. We would never use AI art at Real Good AI because, number one, the art it was trained on is not ethically sourced, parentheses, stolen. Number two, proper credit cannot be given with current neural network methodology. That's a fancy way of saying what I was saying before, is currently the way that it works, it can't know where it learned it. Mandy not only wants to, but I believe has made an AI model that can actually do this that isn't sourced. And number three is part of their whole thing. Human art is important. Number four, the point is not to pretend that the harm was never done. It is to mitigate future harm and allow artists a seat at the table, and we can't have a seat if we never enter the room. That is the fourth pillar of what Real Good AI is all about, because this isn't about making another language learning model. This isn't about making another art model. This is about literally making a fundamental shift in how all of this is done, because the way that they're doing it right now is unfeasible. It is unfeasible, and I can't fix it myself. I cannot. But there is someone and a team of someones that can. I believe that they can. And I am more than happy to fund their entire operation. And I believe that right now, it's not even set up right now that it can take donations. I am funding it all because that's how much I believe in this. And I have been for over a year. Or maybe 4 years. 6 months, 9 months? 9 months. 9 months. Number 5, they have a fifth one. We actively reach out to organizations advocating for reforms and transparency. Quote, building the guardrails while building the highway. Quote, Matthew Parham, National Association of Voice Actors. Right? That is their philosophy, because the entire fundamental basis of it is a problem. What people are doing to pursue this is a problem. There is legitimate use for this technology, but not in the way that it's currently being used. So the next part of it that is going into this explanation, all this is from Mandy, right? Mandy, from the formerly employed by the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, right? Are we upset with AI, or are we upset with how the powerful are deploying it? Tech companies. So this is from Mandy. LLMs and diffusion models are interesting steps. It's the same thing I said. It's interesting towards using computing to mimic aspects of human cognition. But modern formulations suffer from several scientific problems. Number one, a huge demand for training data. Number two, a huge demand for compute memory, electricity, and water. Number three, difficult to distinguish between confident, correct responses and unconfident, incorrect hallucination responses. Number four, model decisions are neither interpretable nor auditable. There is no credit and no why this response, because they don't think, because they don't know, because they don't know anything, because AI models as they currently are, that's not how they fucking work. That's just not how they work. And there's someone that actually knows. Okay, continuing. However, much of the public concern with modern AI tools stems not from their practical details, but rather how large tech companies are choosing to deploy them. This is what I was saying about how there's legitimate uses, but the way that it is nightmare land. And there's no, there is no middle ground for these companies. Anyway, I've yapped enough. Number one of this section. Companies scrape training data, text, images, video, without acknowledging or compensating the authors, artists. Number two, companies mostly choose to power AI data centers with slapdash, unsafe, and environmentally unfriendly sources. That's what I was talking about with Grok and their 60 some odd, I'm not going to say what number, 60 some odd gas generators all running around the clock to power the entire data center. Number three, business and government leaders greedily lay off their workforce in favor of unaccountable AI tools, e.g., many customer service lines are now fully automated and much more frustrating, and I have experienced this. Number four, instead of hearing the public's concerns, they are racing towards solutions without checks or thinking about scaling other than to buy more resources. That is the entirety of every corporation who is into AI is concerned right now. And that is the reason why this, being what it is trying to fight it. And it's a fucking mountain of a fight. But it's a fight that has to be fought. Oh, hi, Bob. Hi. I'm butchering this, aren't I? I bet I'm butchering it. I'm almost positive I'm butchering it. But I'm reading it straight up. I'll keep reading. I have no idea what I'm talking about. All right. Fourth section. I know there's been a lot of numbers, but there's many, many notes here. And it's important that this gets out properly from what Mandy is trying to say. From the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. Yeah, it's not pre-recorded. Why would it be pre-recorded? I said I was going to be live talking to you guys. Here I am, and here I was. I've been here the whole time. Anyway, hi. I'm doing great. Mandy has a big smile right now. Yay. I'm not making a fool out of myself. All right. Anyway, credit to the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. All right. Second to last section. No amount of personal use, non-use can change the tech company's impact if used responsibly. No copy-paste. Structural problems require structural solutions, i.e., change the machine learning methods from the inside out and apply pressure to unethical businesses to clean up their act. So this is where I was saying there is legitimacy in what people are saying about their absolute abhorrence of anything AI, because all they've seen and all you have seen is just bad. And I get that. And any kind of saying about how, it's not gonna, it's not, there's interesting to it. I don't think that dissuades anybody's fear, and that doesn't further the conversation for me to say that, or anyone else to be that dismissive of it. But it also doesn't further the conversation to be so vitriolic about it that death threats end up sent to the Reddit mods, say, for not wanting to have that vitriol in the subreddit, which is the reason why that was there. Again, it wasn't my policy, but I fully stand by the mods for making that decision because they have enough to deal with. They don't need to deal with that. And then even in trying to stem it, they got that kind of things. But structural problems. The whole system right now is broken. Every company out there doesn't even understand how bad the fundamental basis of what they're building really is. The infinite data chase is not sustainable. It's destroying everything, and it needs to change. So in the second part of this is an example. If your goal is to reduce animal cruelty, it does not help to attack someone for eating a hamburger. It's more productive to agitate for legislation to improve farm conditions or promote plant-based alternatives. The fundamental point here that Manny's trying to make is that it's not the attacking with what's happening with the mods or with each other or with me, who is on your side. I am, believe it or not, and I've said this a couple times through the stream. That's what I started this at. Is like, we're on the same side. We're absolutely on the same side. And there's a side here that is for the betterment of this in the first place. So I personally am doing nothing besides paying for the foundation. That is the only thing that I'm doing in this, the only thing I've been doing. But it's something that I've talked about because it's important to understand. To fight something, you have to understand what you're fighting. Right? You have to. It's something that I don't even fully understand. But if you want to change something, you have to understand it. You have to try to understand it. Because when you're making these arguments from a place of ignorance, it can be as well-meaning as you might want it to be. But if it's coming from a place of ignorance, it is going to do more harm than good. And that's what can't happen right now. Because so many companies are just endlessly digging as harder than they've ever dug in terms of any technological rush they've ever had. It's essential. It is essential that this continues on. Yeah. So, lastly is one thing that it's a very short section that Mandy wanted to leave with. As science is defunded, which is a reality here. As science is defunded, it is even more important to keep scientists working on the hard, unprofitable, but vital problems to humanity's future. And this is why realgoodai.org, you can go to their website right now, you might crash it, I don't know, but realgoodai.org, which is this nonprofit that Mandy has founded and is spearheading and is using her incredible knowledge in terms of the process that she developed and the team developed, and also her knowledge of statistics in general, it is important that people understand that it's not profitable, period. The companies that are rushing into ChatGPT, into Grok, into all the other ones, there's so many now that are being pushed for the money of it. Like Meta AI, I think they said that they were they tried to offer someone like $100 million just to join their team because they were top of their field in whatever. The money of it is incredible. There's no money in making an ethical machine learning model. There's none. That's why it's a nonprofit. That's why I'm funding it, because no one else will. Like, absolutely, like, why would they? Because there's a gold rush happening right now. So they're all sprinting off in that direction, trying to make a billion bucks, because that's what's happening. But this needs to happen. This needs to happen now. Like this change needs to be now. Otherwise, there's no hope at all. So, yeah, I'm on your side. In fact, I'd like to think that this whole time I've been more on your side than you ever know. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't care. People can say whatever they want about it. It's never actually bothered me before. But I think if I can use this to talk about this, which is someone that actually knows what they're doing and really believes in it, and I believe in, like Mandy from the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, formerly, has founded something to try to fight back at what is just going wrong with all of AI. And no, this isn't something that I just joined. It's something that I believe in. And I put my money where my mouth is. And this water. Okay. All right, that's it. Has chat frozen? Oh, God. I think chat's frozen. Yeah, I need to redo this. But anyway, so I think I've made my point. I think I've made my case. So I think, and you know what? I'm not saying like you all should have known this, because I didn't talk about it, right? I haven't talked about it because I've been busy. I'm not going to lie. I've been busier than I've ever been. I haven't had a chance to even keep up with videos, but that's just because I want to finish this movie. And I'm so close, and it's so good, and I'm so excited for people to actually know about it. But, you know, it's, you know, I'm bad about communicating sometimes. I'm good when I have a chance. I'd like to think I'm good about speaking my mind, and I think that people could have some semblance of trust in me. But that trust, you know, over time, I get that it fades, and people can have doubts if I'm not saying something very specific about it. But I am such a believer in burning yourself alive for your art that I do it pretty much every day, at the expense of a lot. And I understand it's at the expense of a lot of things that I really miss. You know, a lot of things that I really miss. I work on this because I can't help it. You know, I can't help working on the things that I work on, because I have found it to be the entire basis of my passion in life, and the only reason that I've really found to push myself and better myself in terms of my own artistic abilities. So yeah, no, I'm very much a believer in it, and I'm a very big supporter of it, and I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to try to make sure that as many people as possible know that there is value in still pursuing the artistic endeavors. And there always will be, I think, as long as we're human. You know, maybe when we all got computers in our brains and we're all, you know, we're all just subjects of grok. Maybe then, maybe not. But you know, it is something really nice. Yeah. So that, again, that's Mandy from the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, formerly, who has founded, and I have funded Real Good AI, whose entire mission, as I described, if you didn't see it, the notes, you can go back into the VOD and you can read those and watch those. Check it out. Make sure that you understand the difference between this. Well, okay, not make sure you understand the difference, because if you actually read the paper, it's probably going to go over your head. But there is a research paper for those that are inclined to understand more. There is an avenue There is an avenue for people that don't want to jump into this constant nightmare rat race of language learning models and generative AI that is currently going on. There is someone out there who really truly knows what they're talking about and knows what they're doing, that is trying to build something better, that can give credit, that can know where its information is coming from, that can tell you why it thinks something that it thinks, even if it won't think. There's something broken with it. And this isn't even a guarantee that it'll be fixed, but it's a chance. So I'd rather bet my money on a chance than anything else. So yeah, anyway. That's it. Spread the word about whatever the hell I said in here. If there's any important things that I missed, I apologize. But I was excited to bring this up the entire time because it's one of those things. I tell you, I don't give a shit what people think about me because I'm still gonna do what I want to do no matter what. And usually, I'd like to think what I do aligns with what you want to. So check it out. realgoodai.org. I don't have the link to put in the description, but I'll try to put it after. But get this out. Yeah. It's not an AI model. There is no AI model right now. It's research about the fundamental basis. Oh yeah, I need to be very clear. Before I leave, be very clear. There is no AI model here. It's not an AI model that you can go to the website and try. It's a research foundation. It is about the research. Mandy was formerly at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. This is not a promotion for another AI thing. This is research to build an entirely better foundation than any of the other AI models out there are using. It is about a fundamentally better system. And that's why it's different. So check it out, realgoodai.org. You probably crashed the website. Thanks. All right. I'm out of here. I've said enough. I've spoken my piece. I will then disappear into the shadows because I have so goddamn much. Has anyone solved that AAF problem? I am trying to export an AAF in DaVinci. I did it before. I've never seen this issue before on TikTok. It's in the description. I say what error it is. It's a bunch of numbers. I'm rendering out an AAF. Help! If you want the movie to come out, help! 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 I'm going to dramatically hit stop streaming as I'm... Help!